On March 28, 2008, at my brother-in-law's memorial service, it's the last place I saw my son Kyle alive. He headed back down to college because it was the last day of spring break, texted one of his best friends to say how bad his heart hurt after losing his uncle, and his friend said, "Come over." And he took him to get some drugs, and combined with the beer at the bar later that evening, it was a lethal combination. The next morning, I received a call from my son, Matt, wailing, "Kyle died last night." And my knees buckled as I almost hit the floor. In that moment of realization, I'd never get another hug from Kyle. I'd never hear "I love you" again from him. I'd never get that head snuggled in and against me, and I'd never have to smell a nasty old hockey bag, and couldn't believe it, but I'd miss that. I'd miss that. Both of the hockey teams Kyle played on were going to be the honor guards, and his best friends, the pallbearers. His best friend from Sydney, Australia, actually flew to Shreveport, Louisiana to be there for him. And in the interim, I found out that one of Kyle's dearest friends had been with him when Kyle went to purchase drugs. They combined with the beer caused respiratory distress and his death. And I called Matthew in that moment and said, "Matthew, I cannot have Kenny serve as a pallbearer for Kyle. Cannot." And Matthew's words changed my life. In that moment, he said, "Oh, Mama, God's already forgiven Kenny. You need to too." And I physically felt weight lift off of my shoulders and a burden be removed. And I said, "Matthew, I'm going to have to pray about that." And I did. And the next morning I called Kenny and said, "Sweetheart, I tell you what, I'm disappointed in both of you. Y'all made a decision that was irreversible. You've got a heavier burden to carry than I do. Your best friend died. That cannot be changed. And every morning you wake up and look in the mirror, you have to face that yourself. I can't take that away from you. But my son Kyle loved you like a brother, and I would be honored if you would stand for him, Kenny. Would you do that?" And he did. And the reality is, an event doesn't change you, but how you respond to it does. And I had to decide how I was going to respond to that devastating news. I couldn't change it, but I could choose how I stepped out of it. And I knew that if I gave the gift of forgiveness to Kenny, because the reality, God gave it to me first, so I could give it to Kenny. Because on my own strength, there's no way I could have done that. And in giving that forgiveness to Kenny, I also received. We both moved from broken, absolute broken, to blessed, forgiven, and free. And that's how we chose to walk out of that together.